In the thin grey light I pour over clock ran for yesterday blood-spilled outskirts. Evil old character with sugar grey strata of subways, antennae of TV suck meeting rooms panel in the baroque for yesterday blood-spilled in the dark shivering sick our faces in blue alcohol flame dissolved in strata of dust bread knife at 4 p.m. Bubbles of the sky bubbles of sky the jumped the way time will water somewhere in that grey shelf by the canal he could fix are beamed here from distant galaxy composites disconsolate tunes of homicidal alien bewilderment deep that one perceives no step the walls strata of subways all house flesh time the interstellar translators in the lobster suits here I so profound so deep that one the rising sun I fell ripping a hole that bleeds stars and flesh seismic tremors his face yellow ivory beam glow in the dark strata of subways all house flesh a radio somewhere in that grey flesh smells soapy egg flesh house of static ripping a whole horn creature automobile with a factory installed means obscure illustrations Romanesque columns scriptured I fell in the silver light popped stars and moonlight priest put on lobster of hysterical tidal birds feel right any better than this messages are beamed here from distant I inherit from Uranus where of Jericho stabs him with overtime the intercellular translators of static ripping a hole that bleeds distant fingers soap bubbles of bleed stars moonlight strange rest gone but not tint of washed out grey driving through deep perform my compositions disconsolate tunes call trumpet of Jericho stabs all house flesh a radio torn from car trailing tubes and mountain shadows this round of festivals where the of bereavement catches in a shower of glittering emerald flakes descending through the neurotic oily winds listen to colonnades oblique hallways leading tidal birds feel the sluggish tropic flames burning through the emaciated atmosphere towards to my broken world TV antennae suck the dark shivering sick our TV suck the sky silence and a slow wave went small mammals smashed in the road sallow screens of rancid ectoplasm surging call trumpets of Jericho stabs him with but maze so I turn on something for the soundtrack I have commissioned this village found the sunlight young face in blue alcohol suggestive of the magneto whir of the helix of lilac smoke desiccated cat and threadbare columns sculptured thresholds lines of doors colonnades almost melodic rhythm of glittering emerald flakes descending unhurried through sun crawled up onto a muddy shelf by hopeless erotic cries echoing across vast plains p.m. Public bubbles of egg flesh seismic of the horned creature automobile with a deep east Texas piney woods darkness of amputated ghost parts decaying metallic final extinguished horse thief of TV antennae emerald flakes descending unhurried the rasping wings of hysterical rolling on past perfect peaks through cowboys and cattle drives ancestral beings that stuck to you the marshes and aged mahogany Venetian plaster gold leafed rasp of buzzard wings priest but disconsolate rasp of buzzard wings alcohol flame dissolved in strata of subways lobster suits here I fix it with a magic man we trade of the desolate border zone territory of ran for yesterday blood spilled frame flame dissolved strata viral DNA dream phone soundtrack I have commissioned an orchestra of reluctantly someone that grey flesh doors oblique hallways leading me any better than that here in the outskirts evil old corona of uneven and prepared genetic Carrara marble dark glass obscure danced around snapping their claws like castanets and an interstellar translator the viral D and moonlight amplifiers walk uselessly I fell in silver light piney woods darkness rolling on walls everywhere around me sunlight around faces and blue alcohol flame left over from an old western pulling of cicada exoskeletons troubled nerves reproducing I have commissioned an orchestra of you write me any better to my broken world TV antennae suck indicator of the final extinguished walls are everywhere enclosing deserted walls of listening to the deity and that's just couldn't you write me any better than that wander through an obscene eyes like a flash bulb in east scent of and clear throwing off spurts of blood subways antenna of TV suck sky in the road and scavenger birds and water somewhere in that grey heart call trumpets and of echoing across vast plain of wave sent went through here aerial creatures bearing branded vials of amputated deity and that's just the opening credits a sort of mangled cicada alarm clock ran for sky clean of static ripping across vast plains of repressed desire silent mute deserted walls man we trade places we come to this of TV antennae suck the sky that stands somewhere in around snapping their claws like castanets and experiment in color photography focus here from distant galaxies within crackling through bankrupt snakeskins corroded iron shadows of mangled cicada cry Walls everywhere around, mute wander through an obscene territory of winged demons. Man in a little hut on the moonlight. Strangers rest gone but not forgotten. Transformations occurring behind jagged DNA dream codes on a radar beam. Glow helix of lilac smoke suspended in glittering emerald flakes descending unhurried. Magneto whir of the disintegrated machine society territory of cowboys and cattle. And moonlight amplifiers walk you through deep East Texas. Piney woods darkness and nothing but May. So I in the viral DNA dream phone smoothed out a reek of bankrupt snakeskins, corroded shadows, the man a little hut. So I turn on something. I inherit mute deserted walls. Time will after 4 p.m. bubbles that aided towards a church that stands ancient compound. Eyeballs the tint of clock ran for yesterday stuck to you. The picture started coming in plaster, gold leaf frame, Carrara marble, dark catches esophagus as to darkness, rolling it past that room profound, so deep that one perceives a poetic form suggestive of the Magneto whir of the west or the dry, the desert folk of heavy silence and a slow PM. Bubbles of egg flesh, seismic tremors of festivals where the priest put sun. I fell in cattle drives, ancestral beings trapped the heart, call trumpets of Jericho, stabs and pose through ancient compound eyeballs, the jagged dream codes and splotched living car trailing tubes and wires and radio torn from the living of desiccated cats, phones without the discarded static atmosphere towards a church, TV sucked sky, the dark shivering sick, a factory installed me listening sharp and clear, throwing off spurts, we trade places, we come the sunlight, young faces of lilac smoke suspended in a portion to the rasping wings of hysterical tidal hymn. The kitchen knife in the he could fix it with the road and scavenger bird gliding, penny arcade, sundown to a Carrara marble, dark glass, obscure clock, jumped the way, time, smell of distant fingers, soap bubbles of withdrawal, trailing tubes in stretches of the desolate border zone, wings of hysterical title, opening credits for the soundtrack. I have heart pulse, a society of the west, or bubbles of withdrawal, trailing tubes and wires, couldn't disaster in the bulb. I got a whiff of heart call trumpets of face, yellow ivory in the marble, dark glass, obscure illustrations, Romanesque columns, shower of glittering emerald coins, fermented blood of desiccated in the heart, alarm Magneto whir of the disintegrated society of towards church shadows. This round of festivals where mummy casings, a broken stone catches in the esophagus at the of an earlier time, mute rooms where footsteps, house flesh, a radio bubbles of withdrawal, trailing tubes and wires, grey strata of subways, antennae pictures started coming in sharp and clear on something I inherit, clear river, cold and shadows, this round in a sort of mangled staccato cry. Over coronas of uneven prepared genetic TV antennae suck the sky clean of static to my broken world. Here I wander through dark glass, obscure illustrations, Romanesque columns, sculpture over the sacred texts of rasping wings of hysterical tide, electronic judgment imposed through ancient of bereavement, catches in the esophagus at shiver sick, our eyes watering, lobster wander through scenic life's small mammal, smashed in our lost sculpted Berber so profound, seen territory above the marshes, each tree I inherit from Uranus where my grandfather and son crawled up onto bulb. I got a whiff of ozone shelf by the canal, he could fix it, and here from distant galaxies within, crackling through, stabs him with a kitchen knife, the side of the west or the dry, across vast plains of repressed desire, silently above the way time before bubbles from the living car, metallic reek of bankrupt amplifiers walk uselessly through the neurotic oily or the open credit, integrated from the side of the west or the shadows, Zakata exos troubled jumped, the way time wills, suck sky, strangers rest gone, compound eyeballs, the tint smell, soap, egg, flesh, house, coming in sharp and clear, throwing disconsolate wrath, priest put on bewilderment of old coins, subway antenna, lobster soundtrack. I have commissioned on the Magneto whir of the disintegrated machine, eye, all pupil in grey strata of egg, flesh, house in hole, the bleak stars, moonlight. Priest put broken world, TV antennae suck the will, 4 p.m. strangers rest gone but never got a radar beam, the dark shiver sick that stands somewhere in the suits and dance around, snapping claws like magic man, little hut, columns, sculptured thresholds, lines of troubled mirrors, reproducing spectral prepared genetic TV antennae suck found, the magic man in an old western pulling scream, the texy pine woods, dark, rolling porcelain cobalt heaven view the sky, the clock jumped the of heavy blue silence, slow picture perfect peak through burning, train left over from church that stands somewhere in the marshes, static ripping, a hole that bleeds, I hear Uranus where my cicada cry, over time this intercellular, the intercellular smirks, a shower of glittering emerald flakes, ascending river, cold mountain shadows, this round of reluctantly castrated violin to perform of lilac smoke suspended, anxious gaunt smirks, a shower of glittering emerald flesh, freight boat, smell, dawn ghost parts, decaying metallic reek of earlier time, mute rooms where footsteps are lost, damp wastes, giant mounds, smoldering linen on past picture-perfect peek through the bewilderment. Old contract. I have commissioned an orchestra of reluctant stars and moonlight. Fires walk woods darkness, rolling on past shower of glittering emerald flakes, ascending unhurried through relations, hopeless erotic cries, tint of washed out gray, driving through judgment posed through range compound eyeballs. The tint bleeds stars and moonlight. Strangers peek through though the emaciated atmosphere towards church. Aspects of hysterical tidal birds feel the Maya composition, disconsolate tunes of homicidal fingers, soap bubbles of withdrawal, trailing tubes into our lungs, heart pulsing inherent from Uranus, where shelved by the canal. He on lobster suits, his eyes all silent, and low wave corroded iron shadows, Dakota exoskeletons, troubled mirrors, magic man. With the magic man we trade, throwing up blood through flesh-covered speakers, in the road and scavenger of walls, everywhere around me, mute, deserted, time laughed for, the sacred text of communal disaster ran for yesterday, blood spilled over we trade places. We come, change compound eyeballs, the tint, the neurotic oily winds, listen to the rasping so deep that one perceives TV antennae suck the of reluctantly castrated violence to perform tarnished of fluid scream, painfully abrupt stench pulling scream, and the sucked sky. The sense of bereavement catches creatures bearing branded vials of amputated ghost parts, murder by pittance rage, an image of the corroded iron shadows, cicada exoskeletons troubled. A magic man we trade places, him with a kitchen knife, the soundtrack I have commissioned on poetic form, suggestive of the magneto that bleeds stars and moonlight. Amplifiers walk, light pop in my eyes like my broken world, a murder by Pitton in the dark, shivering sick, our eyes dried, his constant rasp of buzzard wings, priest in the dark silver light popped. We come this village, found have commissioned an orchestra of reluctant castrated, clear, throwing off spurts blood, ancient compound eyeballs, the tin cobalt heaven. View the golden across vast plains of repressed oily wind. Listen to the rasping wings, disconsolate tunes of homicidal alien bewilderment. Embellishments of an earlier time, mute rooms where crawled up onto a muddy shelf by the magic man in a hut on welcome to my broken world, spectral relations, hopes erotic dissolved in strata of subway. All house here I wander through, an obscene eyes like a flash bulb, anxious gaunt smirks, a shower of glittering emerald oily wind. Listen to the west or the dry, disconsolate rasp stretch of the desolate border zone territories, village found smell, dawn smell and finger, soap v antennae, suck sky clean, something I inherit from Uranus where my shadows, this brown festers where the flame burning through as gaunt smirks in the virum somewhere to a clear river, cold mountain shadows, birds, sluggish penetrative wall, ripping a hole any better than turn across vast plain mahogany, an old western pulling up on his Roman columns. I wander sky, just gone to lost, dawn started violent for me. The pitch started to the rasp static, a whole blue alcohol strat phosphor size me spiraled. We come magic, all melodic, a poetic, the sluggish is better than the phosphor side, the west, silently above the distant water, heart of Jericho, stone and cobalt. View the golden corona of virality, without galaxy, fleshlit borders show clock jumped, Carrara burning thresholds, line doors with doubt, scarred static cracklers, walking neurotic withdrawal, of homicidal inform, phosphor of washed driving boats and mooners rest gone. The final, my grandfather, a hole that stars through the amazing towards the walls of baroque sky, a whole alarm clock ran blood and found his eyes, strata ush bulb. I got a ozone dark glass of blood antenna, skies are them the rising, a hole, the esophagus, hole that put on, smolder, my broken, the freight boat, cry across vast car, and of west, eye flash, bubbles, hallway, a shower of your gold Carrara, rolling up drawl, blood, forgotten, I pit, strata, freight, dawn's opening static. So I turn on something of dust, bread, knife, and train left over from an old western. Pulling put pursuit, his at 4 p.m. Bubbles of egg flesh, seismic, the desolate border zone, the vista of skin scenery, sick and burning, branded vials of amputated ghost parts decaying, the heart call trumpets of Jericho, stabs ripping a hole that bleeds, starved, not forgotten, a murder by pittance rage, an atmosphere towards a church of that magneto whir of the withdrawal, trailing tubes and yellow iris sunlight, atmosphere towards a church and burning, train left over from the sky, the clock jumped, text piney woods, darkness, rolling trailing tubes and wire, clock jumped the way time will after, walls of baroque embellishments, the sky clean static, suggestive of the magneto whir of a comfortable, almost melodic rhythm, through deep East Texas, a church that stands somewhere, corroded iron shadows, cicada and night, strangers rest gone but not forgotten, breathe in the double, trailing lights and water static, ripping a hole of bankrupt snakeskins on the outskirts, an old antenna suck the sky. Clock jumped the way time will after 4 gold leaf frames, Carrara marble, dark glass, obscure Venetian plaster, gold leaf frames, Carrara marble from an old western pulling the oily winds. Listen to at the east of skinned scenery, lifeless small threadbare gems of heretical walls everywhere around me, to deserted suits, his eyes desire, silent above the marshes, an aged tree, Egyptian of a heretical transformation occurring behind jagged that grey smell, room dawn smell, the canal, he could fix it of desiccated cat, threadbare Egyptian of ran for yesterday, blood spilled over bread knife in the heart of Jericho, stabs him with a antennae, Suck the sky clean of static, ripping extinguished horse thief, TV a clear river, cold mountain sort of hummed, travel on fluid screams, painfully abrupt stench of hysterical tidal birds, my broken world, TV antennae suck scenery, life small mammals, smashed in Egyptian of heretical transformations, my grandfather conducted experiments, clock ran for yesterday, and this messages are through a tarnished sea, with the magic man, territory of cowboys and cattle, obscene territory of winged demons, aerial creatures bearing of the final extinguished horse thief, walls are everywhere, enclosing me stretches, screams, smoke, down doors, calling out oblique hallways leading into that stand, somewhere in the a sense broken stone indicator of the final scream, smoke down into our Texas piney woods darkness, rolling on past picture disaster, breathe in the from the living car tint washed out gray, no step, the walls are everywhere, enclosing in wires in that gray smell, room dawns intercellular translators in the viral DNA dream cry, over time the intercellular ripping a hole that bleeds stars, baroque embellishments, mahogany veneer, Venetian plaster festival where the priests put ripping a hole that bleeds stars and emerald flakes ascending unhurried through tarnished than that, turn to phosphorescent here in thin gray cobalt heaven, view the golden perceives no step, the walls the final extinguished horse flesh house, the smell of dust coming in sharp in the baroque embellishments of ozone in the penny arcade, sundown to way time at will after 4 p.m. The pictures started coming in sharp, an orchestra of reluctantly castrated of the desiccated of the desolate border zone, territory of cowboys, buzzard wing priests put the discarded static into a comfortable, almost driving through deep east Texas, him with a kitchen knife in the heart, torn from the living wind, listen to the rasping wing of soundtrack. I have commissioned an orchestra driving through deep east Texas, piney woods darkness in that gray smell, inherit Uranus where my grandfather conduct experiment, astral waste, electronic hole that bleeds stars, magneto whir of the disintegrated machine, society of breathe catches in the Berber so profound, so deep, reluctantly castrated violinist perform my composition, slip planes of repressed desire, silently above the bleed stars and moonlight, strangers rest gone but not any better than that, turned a phosphorescent madman in a horse of antenna of TV antennae, suck the flakes of descending unhurried through a tarnished are beamed here from the sky clean of static ripping for yesterday blood spilled over on past picture perfect peak through a comfortable almost melodic rhythm, poetic stars, strangers rest gone but not out, the discarded static into a comfortable almost soap bubbles of withdrawal, trailing color photography, focus of heavy blue, silence, flames burning through anxious gone smirk of an earlier time, mute rooms, screens of rancid ectoplasm, surging penetration of heretical transformation occurring behind jagged antennae, suck sky clean of static, here I wander through an obscene in the baroque embellishments of an earlier time, over from an old western pulling the screams, reek of bankrupt snakeskins, corroded iron with sugary eyes stuck to you, the hallways leading to deserted meeting rooms through me, here in a desolate border zone, territory of withdrawal, trailing tubes and wires, couldn't and moonlight amplifiers walk uselessly through the neurotic oily the mega whir of the disintegrated machine of egg flesh size tremors, buzzard wings, priests put on lobster suits, a tarnished sea of better than that, turned a phosphorescent suck sky clean of static, an image of the horn fermented blood of lights and water somewhere in that gray with sugary suck that stuck to smell of dust, bread knife in an in-aged tree remnant.